Most men wait their entire lives for someone to tell them they're ready. They wait for the job title, the paycheck, the green light, some external sign that says, "Now, you're enough." But life doesn't hand out permission slips. Not for greatness, not for respect, not for command. I remember the exact moment I stopped waiting. So did. He came into my office late on a Thursday, said he didn't want to waste my time, said he just needed 5 minutes. I told him to sit down anyway. He looked like a man caught between ambition and hesitation, sharp mind, solid work ethic, but something inside him wasn't locking in. He kept his eyes low when he spoke. His words were polished, but his presence wasn't anchored. He said, "Sir, I'm being considered for a promotion, but I don't feel ready. I don't feel like the guy they think I am." Altered, I leaned back in my chair and smiled. Not because I doubted him, but because I knew that feeling too well. 30 years ago, I sat across from my first boardroom. My name had just been put forward for a senior leadership role. Everyone around me wore confidence like armor. I wore doubt like a second skin. I remember gripping the edge of the table, trying to hold myself together as imposter syndrome whispered its usual lines. "You're not him. You're not ready. You don't belong here." But that day, an old mentor gave me a sentence I've never forgotten. "If you want to become him, start acting like him. Now, not pretending, not faking it, just choosing, consciously, to carry myself as if I already was that man, not for ego, not for applause, but for alignment, because if I didn't believe I belonged, no one else would either. So I started walking into rooms like my presence had weight. I started speaking only when I meant it, and holding silence when I didn't. I started dressing, thinking, and deciding like someone who had already earned the seat, and little by little, the world responded. Because I didn't ask for permission, I embodied the position. So, I told the young man the same thing I was once told. Don't wait until you feel worthy. Act like you already are. That's not arrogance. That's responsibility. Because the truth is, no one is better than you if you've already made the decision to rise. And you back that decision with action, presence, and patience. The moment you act like you're the best, not to prove it, but to live it, is the moment you start becoming the man you were always meant to be. Why acting like the best actually works? He asked me, but isn't that just pretending? I didn't answer right away, because it's a fair question, and, like most fair questions, it deserves more than a fast answer. I looked him in the eye and said, no. Pretending is when you act from insecurity, hoping to be seen. This is different. This is acting from intention, because you've already decided who you're becoming. There's a reason this works. And it's not some motivational fluff. It's human wiring. It's psychology. It's Stoic wisdom that's lasted 2,000 years because it doesn't need hype. It proves itself every time a man chooses identity over emotion. You see, your mind doesn't wait for confirmation. It follows direction. If you act weak, it believes you are. If you carry yourself like someone waiting to be chosen, it wires that belief into your system. But the reverse is also true. When you begin behaving like the man you aspire to be, calm, sharp, deliberate, your nervous system begins catching up. Your brain builds new pathways. Your posture adjusts. Your speech changes. And so does your reality. Epictetus said, a tree is known by its fruit, a man by his acts. Then, that's not philosophy. That's biology in motion. You become what you repeatedly do, not what you dream of, not what you think about when you can't sleep, but what you practice moment by moment without fanfare. When I started acting like the best version of myself, I wasn't trying to fool anyone. I was simply done waiting. I'd spent too many years waiting for external proof. Someone else's approval, a fancy title, a paycheck that screamed validation. But once I chose to lead myself differently, the world responded naturally, not instantly, but eventually, because energy is subtle, but it's real. People can sense when a man has stopped seeking permission and started living from conviction. Let me give you something practical. Imagine you walk into a room. You don't have the highest title. You don't have the loudest voice. But you walk in tall. You speak slowly. You respond instead of react. You own your space. Not because someone gave it to you, but because you've earned it privately. That kind of presence, it rewires how people treat you, not because you told them you're important, but because you carry yourself like someone who is. And the best part, you don't need to wait to start. This isn't something you qualify for. It's a decision you make. And when that decision is backed by daily, deliberate action, you stop being a man trying to become confident and start being the man who moves like he already is. This is why acting like the best actually works. Not because you're better than anyone else, but because you finally stopped acting like you're less. Master the Stoic posture of power. Before a man speaks, the room has already made a decision. Not because of what's on his resume, not because of what's in his bank account, but because of how he enters. There's a presence that doesn't need volume or titles or approval. It doesn't ask to be seen. It simply shows up, anchored, composed, unshaken, like a mountain that doesn't move, even when the wind is howling. This is the posture of power, and you don't earn it by shouting or proving or demanding. You build it by choosing how you carry yourself when no one is watching, and especially when everyone is. It starts small, with the way you stand, the way you breathe, the way you stop shrinking into yourself when doubt creeps in. Stand up, right now. Don't pose. Just align. Uncross your arms. Drop your shoulders. Breathe through your nose. Stack your spine. Not like you're puffing yourself up, but like you've remembered who you are. Calm. Present. Still. This is not about acting superior. It's about refusing to collapse. Posture isn't about how tall you are. It's about how much space you're willing to claim without apology. The Stoics knew this long before body language was a science. Marcus Aurelius didn't walk into rooms seeking attention. He carried the weight of his responsibilities with such presence that attention followed him anyway. Epictetus said it best: "Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. Let that guide you." If you have to tell people you're confident, you're not. If you have to explain that you're a leader, you're not leading yet. But when you move with restraint, speak with clarity, and stand with quiet certainty, something shifts. People feel it. Because energy doesn't lie. When a man believes in the ground beneath him, others start to check their footing. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. That's what I told the young man in my office. He thought posture meant pretending. I told him it means permission. Permission to stop waiting. Permission to show up like the man he keeps postponing. When someone interrupts you, don't fill the silence with panic. Hold it. When someone doubts you, don't rush to defend. Observe. When tension rises, don't react. Anchor. Men who carry quiet power don't need to win every conversation. They just need to own their space within it. And it shows in how they sit, in how they listen, in how they never chase validation, because they've already decided they don't need it. Confidence is not performance. It's the discipline of not shrinking. Every day, every room, every moment is a chance to embody the man you say you want to be. So don't rush. Don't collapse. Don't pretend. Just stand still and mean it. That's what people remember. And more importantly, that's what reshapes you from the inside out. How to shift from doubt to command. There comes a moment in every man's life when he realizes no one is coming to tell him he's ready. No mentor, no manager, no friend, no woman, no voice from the clouds, just silence. And in that silence, something either dies or something wakes up. That moment happened for him in a meeting room on a Tuesday afternoon. He was presenting a project he had poured weeks into. Halfway through, one of the senior managers cut him off with a smirk and said, "Let's be honest, you're not really leadership material yet, are you?" The room chuckled. Polite corporate laughter, just enough to sting. He looked down at his notes. Hands shaking, voice shrinking. Something cracked inside his chest. Not from the insult, but from how fast he started believing it. Later that week, we sat down. He was still carrying it. You could see it in his shoulders, in the way he questioned every sentence he spoke. And he asked me, "How do you stop doubting yourself when everyone else seems to doubt you too?" I told him the truth. You don't need the world to stop doubting you. You need to stop agreeing with them. Because doubt is not the enemy. Agreement with doubt is, Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. What he meant was simple. No one can insert self-doubt into you. They can offer it, they can project it, but only you can accept it as truth. That's the shift. The invisible click between reaction and responsibility, between waiting to feel enough and choosing to act like you already are. It's not about fake confidence. It's about refusing to let uncertainty dictate your posture, your voice, or your presence. When you stop waiting to feel ready and start showing up as if you are, something in the room changes. You're no longer asking for permission, you're bringing conviction. Quiet, steady, undeniable. I told him, the next time you're in that room, don't defend, don't shrink. Just finish what you came to say. Hold your eye contact. Let the silence work in your favor. Speak like the man you've decided to be, even if your knees are shaking beneath the table. Because here's what most people never learn. Confidence doesn't arrive first. Command does. You don't wait to feel certain. You decide to walk with certainty, and your nervous system adapts. Slowly, reluctantly, but it adapts. That young man did exactly that. 3 weeks later, another meeting, another high-pressure moment. This time, someone questioned him again, but he didn't break eye contact. He didn't stumble through an apology. He said, "Here's the decision I made, and here's why I stand by it." Nothing aggressive, nothing defensive, just calm, rooted clarity. And you know what happened? The room didn't laugh. The room listened. Because the moment you stop doubting yourself out loud, the world doesn't have as much to echo back. Self-doubt will never fully disappear, but it doesn't need to. The goal is not to eliminate it. The goal is to stop living under its authority. Doubt can walk beside you, but it doesn't get to drive anymore. That's how the shift happens. Not through affirmation, not through bravado, but through repeated moments of inner refusal, refusing to shrink, refusing to explain your worth, refusing to internalize other people's limitations as your ceiling. You don't become the best version of yourself when the world believes in you. You become it when you stop needing them to. Silence your inner critic. Lead anyway. The most damaging voice you'll ever hear doesn't come from your boss, your competition, or the people who underestimate you. It comes from inside. It's the quiet voice in your head that questions you in the exact moment you're about to step forward. The one that remembers every past failure in high definition. The one that doesn't scream. It whispers, and it does it so subtly, so reasonably, that you almost mistake it for logic. Who are you to lead? You're not qualified. You're not consistent enough. You haven't earned the right. That voice doesn't care how far you've come. It only cares about keeping you small. And for years, I believed the lie that I had to silence it before I could lead. But that's not how real men move. That's not how Stoic leadership works. You don't wait for the critic to vanish. You lead anyway, because true command doesn't come from the absence of fear or doubt. It comes from action. Repeated, deliberate, defiant action in the face of it. Epictetus once said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." He didn't just mean by others. He meant by yourself. Sometimes the critic will call you arrogant for holding your head up. Sometimes it will call you reckless for speaking with confidence. Sometimes it will throw every past mistake at your feet and dare you to pick them up and wear them again. Don't. That voice is not your conscience. It's your conditioning. I remember one of the young men I mentored once said to me, "It's hard to show up like a leader when I still feel like a fraud." I told him, that version of you might still exist, but he doesn't run the show anymore. He's not in charge of how you walk, how you speak, or how you lead. And that's the core truth here. Inner leadership isn't about eliminating weakness. It's about refusing to be led by it. That inner critic will always exist in some form. It will always try to narrate your steps, distort your wins, predict your losses. But you are not required to listen. You are not required to internalize every fear it throws at you. You are not obligated to treat it like an authority, because you have something it doesn't: direction, discipline, conviction. And the moment you stop needing the inner critic to agree with your decisions before you take them, is the moment you reclaim your power. You'll still feel doubt. You'll still hear the voice. But you'll move anyway. That's what Stoic leadership looks like. Not silence, but sovereignty. Not perfection, but command. You act as if you are the best, not because the critic believes it, but because you do. And when your choices speak louder than your doubts, you no longer need to win the argument. You've already won the direction. The daily ritual to become who you admire. Men don't rise by accident. They rise by ritual. Every version of greatness you've ever respected. Every man who made you stop and think, there's something different about him, was built, not born. And what built him wasn't luck, or IQ, or even ambition. It was repetition. It was rhythm. The invisible code beneath his day. The private standards he enforced when no one would have blamed him for cutting corners. The way he showed up before the spotlight found him. The way he moved with intention long before anyone clapped. We all admire someone, not because they're perfect, but because they're consistent. You've seen it. The man who doesn't speak unless it matters. The father who sets boundaries without raising his voice. The business owner who leads with clarity, not control. The coach who knows exactly when to be silent and when to strike with a sentence that cuts through noise like a blade. These men are not magnetic by chance. Their presence isn't manufactured. It's forged. But here's the truth no one tells you. Admiration without imitation is a quiet kind of self-abandonment. You're not here to watch strong men from the sidelines. You're here to become one. And that shift doesn't begin when your circumstances improve. It begins the moment you stop asking, "What should I do?" and start declaring, here's who I am. Here's how I move. Every day. No matter what. The man I mentored, he was done feeling lost. But he didn't want hype. He didn't want another podcast or Instagram quote. He wanted ground, framework, ritual, something that anchored him when the noise got loud. After all our talks, the young man wasn't looking for inspiration anymore. He wanted structure, something that anchored him in action. So I gave him this. 3 pillars. Simple in design, unshakable in practice. Anchor the morning. Command the middle. Protect the close. This isn't a to-do list. It's a self-respect system. A way to align with your future self before the world recognizes you. Ritual 1. Anchor the morning. Before you check a single message, before you scroll, before the world injects its anxiety into your bloodstream, you center, not for 30 minutes, not for aesthetics, just enough to reclaim ownership of your mind. Because if the first thing you consume is noise, then don't be surprised when your nervous system spends the next 10 hours trying to outrun itself. Instead, sit, not for show, for stillness. Breathe deeply, not to perform calm, but to reintroduce yourself to it. Look in the mirror, not to judge, but to remember, that's you. You don't belong to yesterday. You're not beholden to past failures. You don't need external permission to embody dignity. You're the one setting the standard today. Speak it, out loud, just one sentence. No fake mantras, just identity in motion. Today, I will move like the man I respect. If you need to be specific, go deeper. Today, I will speak slowly. I will not justify myself. I will not apologize for taking up space. I will lead from the front, even if no one thanks me for it. Then move. Get your body involved. Push it. Pull it. Stretch it. Not because you're chasing a number, but because you're building trust with yourself. When you command your body in the morning, your mind starts listening to your leadership. You're telling your instincts, we are not drifting today. We are choosing. The best part, it's not about hours. It's about ownership. Even 10 minutes of full intention in the morning creates a ripple effect your future self will feel by lunch. Ritual 2. Command the middle. This is where most men get lost. Mornings are easy to control, but midday, that's where distractions dress up as productivity, where urgent replaces important, where other people's demands start drowning out your priorities. Here's what Stoic command looks like. You slow down. You choose your pace. You don't run unless the fire's real. You don't open your inbox before you've opened your mind. You protect your calendar like your life depends on it, because your future self does. When someone asks for your time, you don't default to yes. You ask, does this align with the man I said I'd be this morning? Build time into your day, not just for output, but for review. Every hour or two, pause for 60 seconds. Breathe. Adjust your posture. Ask yourself quietly, would I follow me right now? That one question can redirect the entire tone of your day. Not through guilt, through guidance. The truth is, most men don't lack drive. They lack direction. They lack checkpoints. Their days bleed together because they've stopped taking ownership of the middle. Commanding the middle means you stop hiding behind chaos. You stop using urgency as an excuse for disorder. You operate like the man who doesn't just work hard, but works clear. You want to know why some men seem calm under pressure? It's not because they don't feel the weight. It's because they've practiced their rhythm so many times. The pressure bends to them. Ritual 3. Protect the close. Most men let their day bleed out. They collapse into the couch, numb with food, or noise, or content that doesn't build them, just distracts them. They say they're winding down, but really they're leaking. They don't review. They don't reset. They don't close the day with strength. They just stop moving and call it rest. And that's why they wake up heavy, because nothing was resolved. But the man who becomes who he admires, he ends with deliberate closure. He doesn't chase dopamine at 10 p.m. He audits, gently, honestly, not to punish, but to realign. What did I carry well today? Where did I drift? Where did I respond with strength? Where did I abandon my standard just to be liked or avoid discomfort? Write it down. Not for social media, for self-respect. The page is your mirror when your ego is tired. And then, before bed, choose the final state. Don't let exhaustion decide. Do you need to feel gratitude? Resolve, release, choose it. Let your body exhale, knowing that today was not wasted. Maybe it wasn't perfect, but it was lived awake. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself every morning of the gift of life. I believe the greatest respect we can pay that gift is to close the day consciously, not just clock out, but conclude with integrity. This is the difference between drifting through life and building one. This ritual isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. It's about becoming the kind of man who no longer needs to borrow discipline from a podcast or motivation from a stranger, because his day is now structured by who he is, not by what the world demands. And the more you live this way, the less you feel like an imposter, the less you need to fake anything, the less you reach for validation, because you are already becoming the man you used to admire from a distance. And day by day, the world will begin to feel it, not because you said so, but because your actions have become undeniable. You become what you rehearse to be. He didn't say much when he returned. Years had passed. The young man who once walked into my office full of doubt now stood across from me. Calm, steady, measured, not louder, not flashier, just anchored. He shook my hand, looked me in the eye, and said one thing: I never forgot what you said. I just rehearsed it every day. And I knew, without needing an update or a resume, that he had become the man he once imagined, simply by deciding to live like it before anyone else believed it. That's what no one tells you. You don't become great when the world crowns you. You become great when you carry yourself like a man who no longer needs the crown. Every decision, every response, every ritual, every silent moment where you choose presence over panic, purpose over pride, that's your rehearsal. And here's the truth: the man you admire, the leader you respect, the version of yourself you wish you already were, he's not waiting to appear. He's waiting to be practiced. Because in the end, you don't rise to your goals. You fall to your standards. So raise them, rehearse them, and one day soon, without ceremony, without announcement, you'll look around and realize you've already become him. And when that man, the one you've been rehearsing, shows up, don't be surprised if others start following your lead, even in silence. If this message resonated with you, if it stirred something in you that's been quiet for too long, then don't keep it to yourself. By subscribing, you're not just upgrading your own standard, you're helping make this kind of clarity, discipline, and quiet power accessible to other men. Men who are tired of being ignored, overlooked, or silenced. Men who've waited long enough for permission. Men who are ready to remember who they are. This isn't just a video, it's a signal. And by sharing it, you become part of a quiet, uprising of men who lead without noise, who heal without needing an audience, and who walk like they already belong. If you're one of them, click subscribe, not for me, but for the version of you who never needed to be told he was enough.